The 5 Rings for 2026. A path to discipline, faith, and personal mastery. Every year begins the same way for most people. A calendar changes, new goals are written down, promises are made. For a brief moment, motivation is strong. Yet, within weeks, many of those promises fade, replaced by familiar habits and distractions. The problem is rarely ambition. Most people genuinely want to improve their lives. They want stronger discipline, deeper faith, clearer purpose, and greater stability. The problem is structure. Without a system that guides action, motivation fades quickly. The mind becomes scattered. Energy is divided between too many directions. Eventually, progress slows and frustration appears. More than 400 years ago, a warrior named Miyamoto Musashi faced a different kind of challenge. His world was shaped by combat, uncertainty, and the constant demand for clarity under pressure. To survive and succeed in that environment, he developed a philosophy of strategy that he later described through the concept of the 5 rings: earth, water, fire, wind, and void. These rings were not mystical ideas. They were practical frameworks that allowed a warrior to understand discipline, adaptability, action, awareness, and spiritual alignment. In the modern world, the battlefield has changed. Instead of swords and duels, the challenges are mental, emotional, digital, and spiritual. Distraction competes for attention every minute. Comfort tempts people away from discipline. Noise replaces reflection. Yet the principles of the 5 rings remain powerful. When adapted to modern life, they become a guide for how to live with clarity, purpose, and devotion. And this is the path of the 5 rings for 2026. Earth, the foundation of discipline. The first ring is Earth. Earth represents stability and foundation. Just as a building requires strong ground beneath it, a disciplined life requires structure. Without structure, even the best intentions collapse. Many people attempt to improve their lives by focusing on motivation. They watch inspiring videos, read quotes, and imagine a better future. But motivation alone does not sustain progress. Motivation rises and falls with emotions. Earth is different. Earth represents habits that remain steady regardless of mood. In 2026, building the Earth ring begins with simple routines. Waking up with intention rather than drifting out of bed. Making the bed not because it is required, but because it symbolizes order. Cleaning your workspace so your mind is not burdened by chaos. These small actions seem insignificant, yet they shape the environment in which discipline grows. The Earth ring also includes physical training. Strengthening the body teaches the mind resilience. When the body experiences controlled discomfort during exercise, the mind learns that difficulty is not something to avoid. Each repetition becomes a reminder that growth requires effort. But Earth extends beyond physical habits. It includes responsibility. Organizing your finances, planning your schedule, keeping promises to others, showing up when you say you will. These actions build trust both with others and with yourself. There is another dimension of Earth that often goes unnoticed: gratitude. Before the day begins, a moment of gratitude acknowledges that life itself is a gift. When gratitude is practiced daily, pride softens and humility grows. Faith becomes stronger when it is rooted in appreciation rather than entitlement. In this way, the Earth ring aligns discipline with devotion. The foundation of a better life begins with order, responsibility, and gratitude. Water, adaptability, and humility. The second ring is water. Water flows around obstacles. It adapts to the shape of its surroundings without losing its nature. In modern life, adaptability is essential. Plans change. Circumstances shift. Unexpected problems appear without warning. Rigid thinking often leads to frustration. Water teaches flexibility. When a workout is missed, discipline does not disappear. It simply adapts. When a project fails, the lesson becomes part of the process rather than the end of the journey. Adaptability allows progress to continue even when circumstances change. Water also represents humility. Humility is the recognition that no one knows everything. A person who believes they already possess all the answers cannot grow. Learning requires openness. In 2026, humility means listening more carefully. It means observing before speaking. It means accepting correction without resentment. Humility strengthens faith as well. When a person acknowledges that they do not control every outcome, they become more receptive to guidance from God. Water also encourages emotional balance. Anger and frustration can cloud judgment. Controlled breathing and quiet reflection allow the mind to slow down before reacting. When emotions are governed rather than ignored, decisions become wiser. Water reminds us that strength does not always require force. Sometimes strength appears through patience. Sometimes strength appears through listening. Sometimes strength appears through the willingness to change direction without abandoning purpose. Fire, action and execution. The third ring is fire. Fire represents energy, action, and execution. Ideas alone do not transform life. Reflection alone does not build strength. At some point, preparation must become action. Fire is the moment when discipline moves from thought to movement. In the modern world, one of the greatest obstacles to action is distraction. Technology offers endless entertainment, information, and noise. Hours can pass without meaningful progress simply because attention is scattered. Fire demands focus. Deep work becomes essential. This means dedicating periods of time to a single task without interruption. Whether writing, studying, creating, or building something meaningful, focused effort strengthens the mind's ability to remain present. Fire also appears through physical training. When muscles fatigue and breathing becomes heavy, the mind is tested. Continuing despite discomfort strengthens resilience. Yet, fire must be directed wisely. Uncontrolled intensity leads to burnout. Fire should serve a clear purpose rather than chaotic ambition. One of the most meaningful expressions of fire is service. Helping others, offering guidance, and contributing to the well-being of a community transform personal discipline into something larger. Service connects action with purpose. In this way, fire becomes more than productivity. It becomes responsibility. Wind, wisdom, and awareness. The fourth ring is wind. Wind represents understanding, perspective, and awareness. In his teachings, Musashi emphasized the importance of studying other schools of strategy. By understanding different perspectives, a warrior gains deeper insight. In modern life, wind encourages learning. Reading books expands the mind beyond personal experience. Studying history, psychology, and philosophy reveals patterns that shape human behavior. Learning allows a person to avoid repeating mistakes made by others. Wind also involves observation, watching how people communicate, understanding how leaders make decisions, recognizing how emotions influence actions. Observation without judgment strengthens awareness. Another aspect of wind is reflection on mistakes. Failure is often feared, yet it contains valuable information. Each mistake reveals an opportunity to refine strategy and improve understanding. When mistakes are studied instead of avoided, wisdom grows. Wind also deepens faith. As people study the complexity of the world, they begin to appreciate the intricate design of creation itself. This awareness encourages humility and gratitude. Wisdom grows not only through knowledge, but through reflection on the deeper meaning behind life. Void, spiritual alignment. The fifth ring is void. Void represents stillness and clarity beyond noise. Modern life rarely offers silence. Notifications, opinions, and constant stimulation fill every moment. Without quiet reflection, the mind becomes restless. Void is the practice of stepping away from noise. Meditation, prayer, and silent contemplation create space for clarity to emerge. Prayer connects discipline with devotion. It reminds us that growth is not solely the result of personal effort. Guidance, strength, and wisdom often come through faith. When a person kneels in prayer, the mind becomes receptive. Void also encourages detachment from comparison. In the digital age, people constantly measure themselves against others. This comparison weakens confidence and distracts from genuine growth. Void redirects focus inward. Progress is measured against yesterday's version of yourself rather than someone else's achievements. Silence strengthens identity. In stillness, people rediscover purpose. The void ring aligns all other rings. It reminds us that discipline is not only about achievement, it is also about spiritual connection. Integrating the 5 rings. The 5 rings are not separate systems. They are interconnected. Earth builds structure. Water provides adaptability. Fire drives action. Wind develops wisdom. Void aligns the spirit. When these elements work together, life becomes balanced. A disciplined day may begin with gratitude and prayer. Physical training strengthens the body. Focused work advances meaningful goals. Reading expands knowledge. Evening reflection restores clarity. This rhythm transforms ordinary days into purposeful ones. Continuous refinement. Growth rarely occurs through dramatic changes. It happens through consistency. Small habits practiced daily produce extraordinary results over time. Reading a few pages each day becomes hundreds of hours of knowledge within a year. Saving a small amount of money consistently builds financial stability. Training regularly strengthens the body and mind. Consistency builds identity. Identity strengthens confidence. Confidence fuels continued discipline. The 5 rings encourage refinement rather than perfection. No day will be flawless. Fatigue will appear. Doubt will arise. Yet the rings provide guidance during these moments. Return to earth and rebuild structure. Use water to adapt calmly. Activate fire through small action. Apply wind to learn from mistakes. Enter void for reflection and prayer. Each cycle strengthens resilience. Final reflection. In 2026, the true battlefield is internal. It is the struggle between distraction and focus, between comfort and discipline, between noise and clarity. The 5 rings offer a timeless path through these challenges. Earth builds strong foundations. Water teaches humility and flexibility. Fire demands meaningful action. Wind cultivates wisdom and awareness. Void aligns the spirit with God. When these principles are practiced together, discipline becomes natural. Life becomes intentional. Growth becomes a form of devotion. If this message helped you understand how the 5 rings can guide life in 2026, like the video and subscribe for more lessons on discipline, philosophy, and personal mastery.